must have been around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning that I hear this loud buzz at the door. And you can't miss it. It was so loud. I jump out of bed, grab a gown, and get to the door. And I see on the panel that paramedics are at the door. And my thought is, where am I? I had an elderly client in the house at the time. And I'm thinking, I hope she's fine. So I quickly go to check and she's okay. And she's apologizing. I'm so sorry. I called them because I thought I might pass out. My blood sugars levels have dropped so fast. I was terrified, but everything is under control. I've taken some glucose and my blood sugar is back to normal. So I look at her testing kit and sure. Then I go back to the door and let the paramedics in. As they come in, I say to them, I am so sorry. Everything is under control. And they say to me, don't worry about it. We have these kind of calls in the middle of the night, and usually it's just, there's nothing, but we always have to check for proof of life. And so they come in and they start doing the blood sugars, the blood pressure, the whole everything to make sure she's fine. And they're talking to her and they're making jokes. And a part of me is like, this is really tough. Because what is surprising me is we've had these kind of scenarios before. I would wake up in the middle of the night, get her sorted, and we get back to bed. And I would make sure before she goes to bed, her blood sugars are at a certain range. Me and the family, we had decided how to prevent those kind of things from happening in the night. But because of memory loss issues, sometimes she would forget. And anyhow, within half an hour, the paramedics are gone. And that morning, I haven't had a good night's sleep, you can imagine. I still have to wake up, make sure I support her day to day, get her ready. And I think we had an appointment with an ophthalmologist. It was full on. And this whole time I'm thinking to myself, this is not right. This is not working for me. I love supporting others. I love taking care of my patients, but this is not working for me anymore. And I had to get over that mindset of feeling guilty, right? Probably a bit of my Catholic background then. I'm not Catholic anymore. But anyhow, we eventually discussed with the family that the risk is too high. With the doctor, the local GP, we discussed this is not safe for any person to keep this client in our own home. So we make a better plan and, I move on to another client. I realized something that I seem to have been addicted to difficult situations. In part because I didn't know any better. What is interesting is I already had 2 other projects going on. I'm selling online, but I'm not making the goals that I want. I'm not accomplishing the goals that I want. So I see supporting my elderly care patients as a way to generate more revenue so I can fund my marketing, do some paid ads, because I love doing paid ads. Paid ads, you can get a customer in 24 hours. So that was good fun. And I could pay other things that I wanted. But I realized this is not working for me. Because this client that I now took on, that was the one that I made a decision, I'm out. Because one night, this woman is screaming at me. She had her own memory issues and addiction. And it's a long story, but she's screaming at me, wondering why I'm not letting her have her extra cigarettes that she was rationed to have. It was so chaotic. It was so toxic. Now, in my nature, I'm a calm person and I'm trained to de-escalate a volatile situation to a point. But I realized at that point, this is not working. Because later on, as I was studying about the body clock, I was not doing myself any favors by working long hours. That's why I left doing nights in the hospitals anyway. And this is something that whenever I was subcontracting with another agency, I would always say upfront, I don't do nights. Because it doesn't make any sense working so hard, helping others to get better, but your own health is suffering. That doesn't make sense. But remember, it's when you have an addiction to difficult places, it can be hard to admit to yourself. So later on that day with this client who was swearing at me, cussing me out, it was really funny because up until that point, I've been in interesting situations, but I've never had somebody cuss me out. And, I didn't hold any grudge. I knew she's not well. But you have to think, right? That is this how I'm going to be earning an income? Or is this the only way I can support my other businesses? And I know some of you are really smart. You'll be like, Meg, you could have done this, but you could have done that. I was doing the best with what I know. I know better now. But anyhow, later on that day, I decided I am not doing this. I'm not doing this. I think somebody else who's got the energy to run around and stay up at night, or an organization that can afford to hire two different people, one working in the two different professionals, one working in the morning, one working in the evening, is ideal. And that organization or company I was working with at the time, they didn't have that kind of plan in place, and I think it was staffing issues. It's an industry that is wrought with staffing issues. And I just want to say to families, anybody watching this video, if you find somebody who's patient and kind, a highly motivated caregiver who's willing to help you, to coach you and support you to go through these challenges of healthcare issues, hold on to them and make sure they are well compensated, because it will give you peace of mind. So I've always been that kind of person. I want families to have peace of mind, not to worry about anything, but to make sure that it is working for them, but also for me or for anyone. And that is when one day in hindsight, I was willing to start learning, because I realized I didn't come this far to struggle, and I will not show up as the best version of me when I'm exhausted and I'm tired. And I start feeling resentful, like I'm helping somebody else, but my health is at risk. I decided to be honest with myself. And so one day I'm on a training session, and I realize there's a better way to generate income. Because think about it, it's never been about money for me. I've been in healthcare for about 3 decades. There's no money in healthcare. Let's be honest, there's no money in healthcare. But I did it for about 3 decades, not consecutively. I always took breaks. I've traveled and worked in 3 different countries. But at this point, I told myself, I've come too far to settle here. And that is how, after that training session, everything changed for me. I realized there was a better way to work. I can do email marketing, I can do video marketing, I can do audio marketing. And I started to look at my own personal brand, that I can use my voice to help those who want to learn how to be calmer, because I had to overcome anxiety. It was basically fear. I was putting things off. Procrastination has to do with fear. Procrastination has to also do with the fear of being successful, because you've never seen it before, you've never experienced it before. So you can self-sabotage unconsciously. So anyway, in my own story, as I did that training, I invested, because I knew if I don't invest anything, I'm not going to commit. So I invested some of my own money to do the training, and I've never looked back. Because now I realize I can choose when and how I work. I enjoy the hospitals. It was amazing in the time that I did it. Drop me anywhere in the UK, USA, Canada, or Australia, any English-speaking hospitals, or in South Africa, or any other English-speaking hospitals. I'll be fine. I did it for way too long. But I decided it wasn't just about me. I want to make a difference to others who feel stuck like I was feeling stuck. Because it was horrible to feel like my life is out of control, like I can't get things together. What is good about that is I was able to start making up for what I felt like was lost time with my own family because of working long hours, long days. So now I can choose when I do a live stream, I can choose when I do a video, I can choose when I do my email marketing. It has its own consistent program that you have to be working on, but it's different. You know, somebody said, choose your hard. It's not hard anymore, because I've been able to work through my own processing, my own fears, and decide if there's a way I'm going to do life, this is the best way, because I can work from wherever I choose. So if you feel like you don't have options, it's just you're not aware that there are options. I didn't know. Hence why I stayed in the industry for way too long. And the moment when I got to know, it still took me a while to learn. It's not just about the knowledge, it's about the willingness to execute what you know. So personal branding is a big deal to me, because personal branding helps you to break out of the limitations of a job title or your background. I hope this helps you to make a better choice.